Hello everybody, and welcome to this edition of Discussing Digital. Today I'm speaking with Liz Drury. Liz, would you like to kind of introduce yourself and your company to start with?
Absolutely. So my name's Liz Drury and I'm a freelance voiceover artist, and I work across a number of voiceover genres. I tend to do quite a lot of corporate work, so narrating people's website videos and videos that are going to go on social media to explain their products and services. I narrate a lot of e-learning courses for online training. I've voiced a lot of audio tours for museums and art galleries, announcements for events, radio adverts, all kinds of things that require a recorded voice. I do from my little broadcast quality home studio here in North Lincolnshire.
Brilliant. Obviously, we're talking about how you use digital marketing, but obviously from what you've just said and from what we've worked as well, obviously voiceovers is quite an important part of digital marketing as well. So let's start off with, we can talk a bit about how you're marketing your services, and then maybe talk about how your services are used in digital marketing to give people more of an idea of the role and the importance of voiceovers.
Yeah, so I do a lot of networking to promote my business, and of course a lot of that has gone digital over the last couple of years. I used to go to a lot of face-to-face meetings. Now I don't go to very many face-to-face meetings at all. It's nearly all online networking, and that's been great for my business actually, because what I do is not geographically restricted at all. I can work for anybody anywhere in the world. And so now that networking has expanded so that you can network with people all around the country and all around the globe, that's really opened things up for me. So I've really been enjoying that. Other things that I do, I make use of social media like a lot of people do, particularly LinkedIn. A lot of what I do is very much business to business, and I feel that's where most of my clients are hanging out. So that's where I tend to put most of my effort. But I do, to have a presence on some of the other social media platforms as well. And good old emailing people works. I will Google people that I'm interested in working with. I will go and look at their website, find something to comment on, and then send them an email saying, really love such and such thing on your website, tell them a bit about what I do, and say, if I can ever be of any help, let me know. And I never just leave it at one email. If they don't respond to that, I have a follow-up sequence of another 5 emails that go out over the course of another 5 months. And it's surprising how even sometimes on that very last email, people can come back and say, thanks for keeping in touch with us. Sorry we haven't replied up to now. We've just been really busy, but now we've got something that you can do for us. And I think it's easy to kind of send a single email and think, oh well, I've contacted them. But people are busy. And I know this myself. Something will come into my inbox and I'll think, oh, that's interesting, I'll deal with that later. And then 10 other emails come and I've forgotten all about it. So it's only if they come back to me again and I think, oh yeah, I did want to do something with that.
No, I think that's a really, really good point. It's a very interesting sort of about email, because I do think so many businesses have kind of been put off or just forget about how to use email. And that's a brilliant way that you've just explained of how business can use email to target particular businesses that you might want to use. That's fascinating. So that sequence, if you don't get a response, is it a manual sequence you do, or do you use kind of like an autoresponder to drive that for you?
It's automated. So within my CRM that I use, I can set up this email sequence, so I can just set and forget it. So when I send that initial email, I also set the 5 follow-ups as well. And then if somebody comes back to me at any point during that sequence, I will then go in and switch off the other emails so they don't get the remaining ones.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's much easier than trying to remember, oh, I need to reach out to them again.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's a really good use. So that's built into your CRM. Can I be nosy and ask what CRM system you use?
Yeah, it's called 17 Hats, which a lot of people haven't heard of. And the reason that I use that CRM is because it has that feature in it. And that's the thing that I use most.
Right.
It's got lots of other bells and whistles that I've got no idea what they do. But it does what I need it to do.
Brilliant. No, that's great. I'm going to have to go and do a bit of research on that afterwards. That's fascinating. And it was interesting you mentioned it as well when you're talking about that a minute ago, about your social media, that LinkedIn seems to be the one that works best for you as well, because obviously I've sort of did a bit of homework. So looked at some of your social media, although we're pretty well connected already because we've worked together in the past, and it was interesting. I could see that kind of there were more posts and things on LinkedIn than on the other platforms, so which I suspected was because you were finding it best for you. So do you do any of that sort of stalking work on LinkedIn as well?
Yeah, I do reach out to people on LinkedIn, similar to the email, and I will search for, let's say, instructional designer, who are the people that tend to put together e-learning courses. And I will then go in and have a look at their profile. I will send them a connection request, and I always send a note with it as well. I never just send a connection request unless it's somebody that I've just met at a networking meeting and they know where I've come from. But I will say, explain a bit about me. I'm a freelance voiceover artist. I work a lot in the learning and development sector, and I'm looking to grow my network in this particular field. It'd be great to connect with you. And and sometimes if there's something in their profile that stood out to me, I might comment on that as well. So just yesterday, actually, I found somebody working in learning and development who lives in the next village to where my parents live. And so that was, something. And I said, oh, is this road Northampton you live in? And she wrote back and said, yes, it is. And so we had a bit of a conversation. So it's always great if you can find something that will start a conversation with somebody. And it has led to work for me, through LinkedIn. So that's definitely my preferred social media platform.
And that's again combined with your email sequence. It's a great example of, actually, it's almost like you start off, you're not really pitching for work to start with. It's all about building that conversation and getting to know each other and understanding what you provide and what they provide. So it's surprising how many people don't do that. They think, oh, I just send them a message, and then if I don't get a response, which is a sale, I give up. But it's all about building those relationships, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to be sold to, do they, at the end of the day? But everybody likes to be helped. So if you can come across as being helpful and say, if I can ever help you with anything, let me know. That's much better than saying, oh, did you know I can do this, this, and this, and I can help you do this, this, that, and the other. No one wants to know that. They just switch off right away.
Yes. It's surprising how many people don't jump into that as well. And talking about getting to meet like, know, and trust. One, I know we talked about, you mentioned about networking and how that's expanding, but I also noticed that you've been running a podcast and for the last year or so. And I think they're a great way for people to get to know each other as well, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my podcast started in January 2021, so it's just over a year old now. And I've been toying with the idea of a podcast for a while, and people kept saying to me, you're a voiceover artist, you've got all the equipment, you've got the voice, why don't you do a podcast? And I never really knew what my podcast should be about. And I didn't want to do anything in the field of voiceover because I know plenty of people that already do voiceover related podcasts and do it very well. And I didn't really think I had anything extra I could add. But I often got asked to speak at voiceover conferences or webinars to voiceover other people in the voiceover industry about networking. So I thought, well, if people in my own industry are coming to me as like the expert in networking, why don't I make my podcast about that? So that's how it came about. So it's called Small Business Big Network, and it's very much for small business owners who want to get more out of their networking. And I've talked to all sorts of business owners. And I like to talk to people who are using networking in some way to grow their business, or maybe they met their business partner through networking, or maybe they met their life partner through networking. People who've got interesting stories to share. And there's been some really, really interesting episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to a couple and snippets of a few, but it looks like, do you kind of roughly do one every week?
Yes, I do. When I first started, I thought I will commit to doing 2 episodes a month. I thought that will be enough to cope with. And I very quickly got to the point where I got so much material. I was saying to people, well, this isn't going out for about 10 weeks. I thought, no, this is silly. So I went to once a week. And so far, it hasn't been too bad to keep up with it. I mean, I think I'm about 4 weeks ahead of myself at the moment, with another couple of interviews coming up, in the next week. But yeah, I haven't found it too difficult to find people who want to come and talk to me. So so far, so good.
Yeah, I must admit, it's surprising. I mean, so this is episode 4 that we're recording of my one, and I'm kind of aiming to do it fortnightly. And at the moment, it's all video, but my intention is that I'll transfer this into an audio version as well in the future when I've got time to kind of sit down and work out all the mechanics of publishing podcasts. I've sussed how to publish on YouTube. That's easy, but it's because of my background working video in the past. But yeah, I've got so. But yeah, it's fascinating. Again, it's another sort of really growing genre for people to help people get to know you. And obviously, as a voiceover artist, I suppose doing a podcast almost becomes natural because of what you do.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I've got the equipment already, and it's just another place where people can find me, where they can hear my voice. Even though I'm not talking about voiceover. I always say in part of my introduction at the start of every podcast episode is, I'm Liz Drury, my freelance voiceover artist. So anyone listening to my podcast, even if they've never come across me before, will know what it is that I do.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed that you do, and I didn't look very far back, only last couple of weeks, but I noticed that you've been doing kind of a Friday summary video,
my roundup video. Yes, I've been doing that for over a year now, actually. And I got the idea from somebody else. The best ideas are always pinched, aren't they? And someone I'm connected to on LinkedIn, she does a thing on a Friday where she does shout outs to people that she's met during the week. And she hers is a video, but there's no talking on it. She just has music in the background. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And she holds up cards saying, thanks to so-and-so for whatever this week. And I thought, she gets quite a lot of interaction on those. So I thought I'll do something similar, but I thought I'll do mine as a spoken video. Yeah. And so every Friday I write myself a little script of who I've met, what I've done that week. So you'll be featuring.
Oh, I look forward to it.
So I give people a mention in my video, and then when I post it on LinkedIn, and I also post it on my Facebook business page as well, and I tag in the people that I've mentioned in the video. Brilliant. And people seem to like it. A lot of people tell me they've seen it, so that's good. No,
that's great. And again, another great way, and also that tagging people in, again, it helps grow it, and I presume with a bit like a few of them then share it as well. So
yes, that's right. Yeah,
no, all really good stuff. And again, talking about LinkedIn, one of the things I'd asked you about was to talk to you about a favorite post or most successful post. Yes. And so you sent me a link to a post on LinkedIn. I think it's from a couple of months ago about your son. So do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about that? And we'll...
Yeah. So my best performing post has nothing to do with my business whatsoever. How typical is that? But it's had over 6,000 people look at that. Wow. And just before Christmas, my son, who is in the Army Cadets and in the Army Cadet Force band for Lincolnshire, went for an audition to join the army as a musician, and he passed. And we didn't think that he would, so I was really, really proud of him. And I posted a picture of him in his cadet uniform, which we'd taken on Remembrance Sunday, and and said, really proud of William, he's passed this today. And so many people commented on that, including people that had been in the army themselves and been musicians, and said, oh, we'll have a great time. As I was telling you before we actually started recording, he's now thinking, I don't know if I want to go in the army. I'm like, oh, William, everyone's behind you, go do it.
I find it fascinating sometimes, although LinkedIn's very business orientated, sometimes if you post one with a bit of a personal slant, sometimes again it helps with the meet like no trust thing, but quite often they do get a lot of reaction, particularly when they're
Yeah.
interesting, like things like that, where like which is a great sense of achievement for you and your family. So I think that's another important thing. Yes, it's business stuff, but it's not all about business.
Yeah. Another one that I had a lot of success with was really random, and I try and post something on LinkedIn every weekday at least, because I think you've got to be consistent to for people to see you. And this particular day, I thought, nothing interesting has happened today. I can't think what to post about. And I'd just eaten my lunch, and I'd eaten it in front of my computer, which is a mistake. And I'd had a cherry tomato. And as I bit into the tomato, it squirted all over my screen. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to post about that. So I went to the fridge and I got another cherry tomato and I put it on my keyboard and I took a picture and I posted it to LinkedIn and wrote this, what just happened at lunchtime. And that just got loads of interaction. People that done the same thing, or people said, "Oh, you were really silly," or So again, nothing to do with work, but lots of people interacted with it.
No, it's brilliant. Although I think we should point out, we're not advising people to squirt tomato all over.
No, don't do it.
Oh, that's brilliant. I know, again, before we started recording, we were talking, and you were saying about how e-learning has become really important, and how your involvement and the growth of voiceovers in that sector has happened. So I just wondered if you wanted to just talk a bit more about that, because I know there's a big push for e-learning at the moment.
Absolutely,
we're all still at home.
Yeah. I mean, e-learning, online training was a growing market anyway before 2020. But the pandemic has just accelerated things. So many more training courses had to move online because people couldn't meet face to face. And now people are realizing, actually, we don't need to do it face to face, or we can do a combination. And so trainers are able to be in more than one place at the same time, because they can go and do something in person. But if they've got an online course, they can be selling that at the same time to lots of other people. Maybe that's a slightly lower cost option for the people buying the course, and it's an evergreen thing that they can keep selling again and again. So I've been working in the e-learning industry for a few years, but I've found that my work in that field has just really increased over the last couple of years. And I've worked across all sorts of different sectors, narrating courses for the healthcare industry, for to do with health and safety, for public transport, for food safety. I've done all kinds of things. People need training in all sorts of things, and it's fascinating. Actually, I learn quite a lot while I'm narrating e-learning courses.
Yes. I must admit, I mean, as I said, we worked before, I mentioned, and I was producing a set of training videos for somebody, and you did the voiceovers for me. So yes, it is interesting, and it's certainly a direction of travel that a lot of people want to go down. It's certainly something that my longer term aim is, and that was my wife delivering some food for me. No, it's good. I am conscious. I know you said you had another appointment in a minute, another podcast that you want to. Sort of we're here towards the wrap up. And one of the things I've sort of said, I ask our people I speak to kind of come up with is a recommendation of one good thing for people to do within their digital marketing. So
well, I think I have already mentioned this, but I think it's worth mentioning again, is to be consistent with social media. So as I said, I try and post on LinkedIn every weekday, and I made a conscious decision to do that a few years ago. And I'd had a LinkedIn profile for a while and never did much with it, unless I thought I'd really got something to shout about. And I thought, I wonder what difference it will make if I start posting consistently. And the difference was just phenomenal. So many more people started seeing my stuff and commenting on my posts and so on. So I think that's the key, is to be consistent with it.
No, that's great. And conversely, is there something you would say, just don't do that or avoid doing that?
I think, again, to do with social media, I think don't spread yourself too thinly. I mean, I do have a presence on a number of different platforms, but LinkedIn is the one that I concentrate on, and I tend to cross post to Facebook because that's easy to do. But I think you can drive yourself into the ground trying to post on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest. And what you need to do is work out which is the one that works best for you and concentrate on that. Where are your clients? That's where you need to be.
I completely agree. Focus on one, get that working for you, whichever one that is that suits your business. But no, I think that's brilliant advice as well. Okay, so we're moving towards the end now. So I'll share all the links that you've put on the video. Mm-hmm. But if somebody wants to reach out and connect with you or speak with you about the potential options that they might have of working with you, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Either through my website, which is lizdrury.co.uk, that's quite easy to remember, or through LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on there and always respond to messages that I receive through there.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I think it's been great. You shared so many really good tips, and it's really also good to get a bit more of an insight into your world of voiceovers, because I do think it's a fascinating industry and a really important part of digital marketing. So thank you for that, and I look forward to speaking to you, hopefully working with you again in the future.